ora e homa, and welcome to Tuku Talks, the podcast that talks about shit that rangatahi want to hear about. I'm one of your co-hosts, Janaye Henry.
Kia ora te whānau, I'm Turia Peke.
Let's go. We are sitting in the boots of our cars at the moment in a car park, so you are going to hear noises of the earth. You might hear a stray dog, you might hear a lawnmower, you might hear a plane. It gets cuckoo lulu here. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm real excited because the kaupapa of today is something that I love to pop off about at any party. We're going to talk politics today, e te whānau, and we have none other than the powerhouse himself. Joining us from the boot of a car, can we please welcome Waimihia? No, wrong name, I'm sorry. Waimihia, there we go. Can we welcome Waimihia into the boot? Kia ora, Waimihia.
Kia ora, I was about to be like, at a who's there?
I know, rude out the gate.
Yeah, kia ora tātou. Ko Waimihia tōku ingoa, huri tēnei no whangara mai tawhiti, no hoki no Ngāti Sūwhareto, no Te Awa Wanganui, e pāpāringa hoki ki Te Aroa. Stoked to be here.
Sure. We are the whalers.
Yeah, Rodzi.
It's so lovely to be here in our boots with you today. We're talking all things politics. Let's just get right into it. What's politics?
Ooh, straight there. Yeah, unless we start with a light, sort of simple question.
Yeah, I thought I'd start easy after getting your name wrong. I thought.
Nah, we'll go there.
Change it up.
I don't know, I think for me it's just like a way, it's a way we manage and organise our society and people and groups of people. Through negotiation, through compromise, through discussion, in a real abstract sense, something like that.
That was a beautiful answer out of the gate.
Because you think politics is just the beehive. You know? I feel like a lot of us do, or I do.
Yeah.
The beehive.
The beehive.
Yeah. What are your reckons on politics? How do you feel about it?
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I'm not one that really follows it. I mean, I'll follow ones that pop off on Instagram and that, that buzz, but I'm all about Māori Party, that's for sure.
Yeah, put it out there.
Check that out. Yep, 2 ticks even.
But I think it's quite common, like I think not wanting to be invested in politics, especially like for us, is quite a common thought. Do you have any reckons about why that could be?
Heaps of reckons, I think, especially for rangatahi Māori. I don't even know where you start. Like, we don't see ourselves in sort of what we understand as politics, so like the beehive and party politics and that. Even as Māori, but then as rangatahi as well, there's not many young people in that whare making those calls. So it's sort of like, how can you really familiarise yourself with something and get involved in something that, from your understanding doesn't really serve you or you don't see yourself in. So it's that whole identity, what the New Zealand and Aotearoa identity of politics is. But that's what I think that's cool about Māori Party and that, we're starting to see ourselves in the whare.
See some representation.
Exactly, and like real independent sort of, unapologetic representation. Because they are Māori in the house, but they're not always supporting kaupapa Māori, and that's not always, that's not necessarily their main focus or sort of MO. It's, they're sort of bound by their parties, agendas and whakaaro and policies. So, just that sort of stuff. But there's so many reasons. It seems so distant, I think, to rangatahi as well. It's all down here, like people, but like, that's sort of just a Westminster whakaaro of politics. Politics happens everywhere. Happens in our homes, happens in our hapu, happens at the marae when the aunties, they're giving you heaps and they're telling this uncle, nah, you got to say that and don't do that. And then at the iwi level, I think that's what we need to, the more discussions we have about that sort of politics and how it's really across the board, the better, I think. The more engaged our rangatahi will be.
I mean, I think before Māori Party, I didn't even look at politics at all. Because if you don't see yourself in it, how do you, you think that area doesn't belong to me? That's for the Pākehas. Honestly, so.
This is like a hot take, or I don't know, maybe it's lukewarm in this space, but my lukewarm take is that politics it's a system, like politics as we think of it at a government level, has purposely been a system created by people who aren't us, to serve people who aren't us.
And to block us out.
So therefore, I think it's intentional that we talk about it. They use the most wanky words. I'm like, just say what you want to say.
Facts.
Do you feel better for using that big word? It's like, aren't you meant to serve the people? Then wouldn't the key be to let the people understand you instead of talking in riddles like your Rumpelstiltskin in the forest.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
That's
to
one
me.
of my favourite fairy tales, randomly, sorry.
Oh,
Rumpelstiltskin, yeah.
is there a rat in that fairy tale?
No.
Okay, I'm thinking of.
He's like the little man who turns straw into gold.
I think of
So
Pied
weird.
Piper.
Yeah,
who,
no,
like,
I'm not on
drowns
this waka, but
Yeah,
safe. No, I'm there. I'm following, but like, yeah.
I can totoko your waka, but I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
in
yeah.
it.
yeah.
I respect your right to be in that waka, but I'm not there
Politics, eh?
too.
This is politics.
Yeah, everything
so.
is political.
Exactly.
I reckon.
Yeah.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, definitely. Everything. Yeah, everything.
So before you said you're one of the whalers, you're from Whangara, from Kizzy,
Yeah,
but you're
yeah.
living in Wellington.
Yep.
I mean, what's that like what is that like? Moving from rural to the city,
Yep.
kind of like, is it like, did it open your eyes to more politics or
Yeah,
the same?
Yeah. I think, growing up in Whangara was interesting. Like, like very starkly different to, when I was studying in Auckland. I obviously lived in Auckland for about 5 years prior to moving to Wellington. So got the mannerist culture shock when I pulled up to Auckland. I was just like, far out, felt so small, felt so insignificant. Didn't have any connections really. Went up there not really knowing anyone from Gizzy boys, but like, I think growing up in Whangara was awesome, man. And I feel really privileged to have grown up in a space like that where you literally live, like not many things have changed since our tipuna arrived and since they set up those villages and that Turanga Waiwai there.
That's mean.
We still live close as proximity to our pa. We go to the pa all the time. We live ahapu. All of us are related.
Yeah.
We live that real koha tu koha mai sort of life.
Oh, he's your whānau on a tractor.
Yeah. They would be on the tractor.
No.
Yeah, they'll be on the horse. But anyway, so like that sort of way of life I was really lucky to have. And then lucky enough that my parents studied Te Reo Māori at Whare Wānanga.
Oh,
So me and my sisters were raised in Te Reo Māori, fortunately enough, and in tikanga. So that was huge. And then felt a real strong grounding, I think, in who I was and who I am. And then so moving into these big cities, Auckland and Wellington, like.
Did you find it difficult to like hold on to who you were in that time?
Yeah, see, that's a good question. I think like elements of significant parts of your life are sort of taken away and you're thrust into these new spaces. Yeah. I think who I was never changed, but how I expressed that changed a lot because I didn't have the opportunity in the spaces to really be unapologetically Māori, and it takes a lot more courage and a lot more consideration. You really need to think and be strategic about how you express yourself and how you be Māori in spaces that don't facilitate you being Māori. So like, I don't think I ever lost who I was, and because that was just so strong, it was just so foundational for me. But I found myself like compromising, and I didn't like that. Found myself, toning down the Māori and the Tairāwhiti and the East Coast tanga so I was palatable. And I think that's something we as Māori have to face and we struggle with a lot, but a lot of unlearning, I think.
But Buzzy, that you said like you tone down, because I know sometimes when I'm in an area with Paikas, I actually kind of tone the Māori, like I'm the typical Māori, with the chicken. I'm like, what's happening? But that's Buzzy that you turn it down to. And from like Auckland, Whangara to Auckland, that's huge. Was Wellington any different?
I think by that point, like I had that real hard out like culture shock. I had found my feet in Auckland, and then like I started to feel comfortable and know my way around and had a good network of mates, and like I think that was real important. So like when I moved to Wellington, it was just like, I done Auckland, like safe, like I can move on, like go to the next challenge. Like I was like, if I can go from Whangara to Auckland to Wellington should be a piece of piss, really.
Bit of a random question, but let's say you do want to be a politician in the future. Which one would you go for? Would you go straight for the unapologetically, I'm Māori party, let's go, or would you go for the Nanaia, Mahuta, and all that, kind of place? Like, sleep with the enemy.
Facts.
Well,
sleep with the enemy.
Well,
facts.
And somewhat, and like learn and kind of. That's what I feel like they're doing. You thinking about it? Or?
Yeah. Nah. Oh, nah, there's no choice for me. Like, it's got to be unapologetic. Yeah, it's got to be independently tangata whenua, and it's like...
Straight up.
Yeah, I don't think as a Māori, it's quite tricky. Well, for me anyway, as a tangata whenua, I couldn't go into a party whose values didn't align with me and my people's values and what's important to my iwi and hapu, and try and sort of manoeuvre your way in that space to try and get some sort of benefits that, aren't really where it needs to be. I think Labour and that's just way behind, man. Like, yeah, so it'd have to be something like that, I think.
It is like boring waiting for people to catch up on stuff that feels like. So trying to imagine having a smile for that group photo, like when you're like this way from behind.
I feel like I'm toxic because I feel like I've like joined Labour or something.
Yeah,
and just be like, oh yeah.
But like that's the thing,
you'd be
like
slowly turn them and take photos of them at parties.
I seen this.
Well, he says you should join Labour. That'd be sick.
Look at Jacinda. Nah, I'm don't mind Cinda.
Yeah. And like I seen this Meanese quote, I don't know where it was, but it was like, I don't even remember it word for word, but like, it was sort of like, it was like the road to like liberation or like emancipation is like a 8-lane highway.
Okay.
So being like, there's no one pathway to transformation and to change, it's a multi-pronged sort of approach. I was like, yeah, that's true. Like, see, as much as we might beg tangata whenua who sit in these spaces and compromise and who do that, we got to reflect on their intentions, and usually the intentions are genuine and they're pure, but it's what's the best way we can go about making that change, and there's not just one way. We need people on the ground, we need people in communities, people working with our homeless, with our tamariki, trying to feed our tamariki. We need people in our hapu iwi governance, managing our assets, all that sort of stuff, all the way up to people in the whare, passing laws and that sort of,
I love that. 8-lane highway. I reckon there still is sometimes people get off at the wrong exit though.
Oh yeah, facts. They'd be going the other way.
You turn.
They're gone.
But then there's like,
taking that lane.
I reckon there's like people who think.
I'm joking. We need everyone. We need everyone.
I reckon there's people who do think it's a 1-lane highway though.
Yeah.
And I think those people can be quite
close-minded.
Quite anti the kaupapa.
They're
even
driving
though they're
steamrollers down that 1-lane highway.
They're like, if you're not in my lane, well, you're not actually going in the same direction.
I'm in like the cyclist cycle lane and they haven't seen me yet, and I'm like nervous about it. I'm like, straight up. I love that 8-lane highway.
Yeah.
That was a good
I'd like to give credit to whoever it was, but I don't know.
Translate it and claim it.
Shout outs to whoever that was.
Yeah, hard.
You touched before on specifically like Māori politics. Can you give us sort of like a rundown on maybe like the history of politics, or where you feel or what you've learned about politics, where it's sat for Māori people?
Yep. Well, yeah. I think even like pre-treaty, pre-European arrival, we're political people. Naturally, in the ways in which we organised ourselves, our hapu, we had rangatira, we had, ariki, we had like, roles, whānau roles and things like that. Some whānau were sort of the kaya gatherers, the hunters, others were the tohunga, others were, so we had roles and we organised ourselves, and there was a lot of, it was a turbulent time, even for Māori. You had a lot of intertribal conflicts and things like that. So there was always that stuff. But then I think like, after like Pākehā arrived, there was a complete, additional element of that space that was like real foreign to our people.
Yeah.
But I think we've always had a history of really being at the forefront of affairs and interests in Aotearoa at the political level. And I think we've had a real colourful sort of political history as Māori, from signing of the treaty. That's quite a progressive thing for tangata whenua back then, to be considering a document like that, constitutional arrangements like that. We're way back then. We're still harping on about constitutional transformation now, and that would have been a huge change back then. And then we've got all these different movements. All the way up until now, we've got Māori in Parliament. Māori in the public sector, and then also tangata whenua in their own iwi, independent representatives of their own iwi and hapu and whānau. So yeah, man, like we're in there, we're all
Yeah.
across the board, like, and we've done it for a long time, and I think we'll continue to do it.
In many ways, it sounds like, from what you just said, that Māori people are navigating even more political spaces than Pākehā, because Pākehā can rely on the colonial political system they brought with them.
Yeah.
But Māori, we're still operating in a framework that's te ao Māori, while trying to navigate this Pākehā political landscape that was not built for us. And like trying to make that work and trying to align the values.
Yeah.
Whew, okay, we're
Good.
Mic drop. Mic drop.
amazing. We're pretty amazing people.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if you
Yeah.
could kōrero for a second
Yeah.
about, okay, so if for some reason a conservative older Pākehā has stumbled across Tuku Talks and is listening to this episode and has made it this far, but then kia ora to that one person.
It's probably triggered ears already.
The comments are already popping off.
Sorry, my bro.
I've already deleted that comment.
Kick it.
What would you potentially say to that person in terms of explaining how a party like Māori Party being in Parliament actually benefits everyone? I think there's sometimes a little bit of a misconception, but I don't think it's anyone's fault. But like Māori Party being in only benefits Māori people, I have a whakaaro that would benefit everyone. And I just wondered if you could sort of speak to that one Pākehā listener.
I reckon if that one Pākehā fella come through, I wouldn't even talk. Like, I feel like it'd be probably too far gone to even have a sort of sound dialogue, I suppose. So it's tricky with those ones, because it's like, do you go out there, do you go through that emotional, mental labour of actually trying to convince well, not even convince, but like put your position out there for it to just be shut down? It's just like, well, is that even really the best thing for you to do?
Do you think that whakaaro right there is potentially why some Māori aren't getting involved in politics?
In terms of like how we speak to our own people, or like?
No, in terms of a wider context, like I mean, everything's political, and I do believe that, but in the context of like the beehive and stuff, like that feeling of constant emotional labour. I mean, we saw Rawiri in there fighting to like not wear a tie. I mean, come on. Definitely. I think so. It's a toxic environment, I think. It's always been, and like Rawiri and them have spoken about it, Māori MPs have spoken about it for years. Like, it's a colonial space, they don't see themselves in the space, and simple things, like just wearing a taonga, and they have to bloody, go through and like really fight for that sort of stuff. So it's like, I don't blame them. And then on the outside, you've got whānau and hapu and iwi outside of that are just like, well, why should we engage in a space that we can't even wear our own traditional like adornments, and it's just like, we know it's a space of change, but it's like, if it can't make that little change, how are we going to expect it to, make those big changes that we really need
in the country? Really random, like,
love this.
I don't know if I'm shooting myself in the foot for thinking this. Let's say like 2017, maybe 2018, I was not a Māori Party supporter. I supported Māori Party, but I kind of thought, like, first I've always thought, everyone's probably like, all my fun of them are probably like, what's she going to say? I thought that, first of all, naming themselves Māori Party was a bit of a, you're a minority, like, I thought maybe play Game of Thrones game and get all the get everyone on side, and then be like, you know what, we're actually just Māori Party, we're not for all of yous. But they done it that way, and like, maybe it's because I was naive, didn't really know much, but hey, last year was 2 ticks, whānau.
Hey, what would you name it if you...
The what?
Māori Party, like if it was your party.
Aotearoa.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, there we go.
It's Māori, but it's inclusive of everyone. And because I'm half Samoan, I sometimes think Māori, I'm just like, but what are you going to do for my Samoan whānau if you guys get in? And then all the other whānau. So I don't know. I mean, I hope I don't get,
Nah, you say what you want to say.
That's
I will.
Do you have a reckons about
What
that?
about you? Have you got any
karo?
Not
I like that
was
wasn't low key like a question, but it was a yarn. But like, I don't know, like, I think the party's doing me.
Not specifically just Māori Party.
Yeah. But I think they had like cool origins, or like not cool in that sense, but obviously real sort of turbulent past. They even post for sure in Seabed and that, seeing Te Ao Māori come together on their kaupapa, boom, hatch Māori Party, like I think that was a real like awesome, empowering way for tangata whenua to come together and to be like, you know, what we got now, like our Māori MPs in the whare are too strung by their own, you know, their own parties. We need an independent, unapologetic voice.
Yeah.
Boom, Māori Party, you know, ka tipu mai.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I think, yeah, you know, they had their hard times. You know, they were out of the whare for a bit, for a range of reasons. But now I think there's a lot more traction, a lot more support behind them. Seeing them in the whare, for you know, for Māori is huge. Seeing that voice, seeing that mataora and their kaua in the whare is huge, man, for our people, especially our old people. And then hearing the kōrero, hearing how hard out they're sort of holding the government accountable to their hapa, especially all through COVID and all of that. So it's just like, yeah, I think only good things can come from their presence in there and seeing what's going to happen.
But do you think media as well has a huge... Well, I mean, the media is different for the different party groups, isn't it? Like how they... The wordings that they use, it's different for this side and that side.
I reckon like media, but like I think traditionally it's always been pretty negative, and it's really painted Māori in a real negative sort of image, and then those narratives around tangata whenua, always being on police 10/7, always being on the news, getting locked up, and then just not even seeing ourselves on the news in the first place. But then now I think we're moving into a space where it's sort of a double-edged sword at this point. There's definitely benefits in having media coverage of kaupapa Māori. Now we've got all these Māori shows, you know, television shows like yourselves.
Tuku Talks.
Tuku Talks. You got social media popping off now.
Yeah. We have Orini, Kaipara on News Hub, Moko like it's changing,
Hugely. So it's like, I think it has its benefits. But we still got to be real careful, and we got to call out, you know, that same narrative wherever it continues, I guess. But then also use media as best as we can to shed that positive light on who we are as Māori.
What do you think is the edge on that sword? Because you said it was a double-edged sword. What's the other side of that then?
In terms of the positive side?
No, well, like you kind of talked a little bit about the positive side of like, did you mean media generally as a double-edged sword, or like specifically where we're moving?
Like because media is huge, like I think, for example, mainstream media is tricky for our people, I think. We've got more Māori in those spaces, and there's generally more sort of narrative and stories around kaupapa Māori that are positive. But there's still that underlying stuff that needs to be unpacked, and a lot of those biases stuff, for example, they go hard. Like you see it on the comment section, like maybe not just like, sometimes people are like, well, the story is like positive, like, but they also recognise that sort of facilitates a platform and a space for people to share those views. So like,
and
but then the other,
Oh,
exactly. A lot of those stations, so it's like, they got to be really aware of that stuff.
True.
I'm like, no, they do. Because I actually was a bit of a troll, and I used to go hard on those. On the comment section.
I mean, like everyone's a little bit, everyone goes.
But now with Mahia, I'm just like, oh, calm down.
Do you ever want to be a politician?
Nah, not really, to be honest. That like, I don't know, it's a tricky one. Politician in its traditional sense, sort of like the beehive going for a party, not really. But I think our Māori leaders are politicians in their own right. Like, man, like that sort of space, doing that sort of stuff, I'd love to do that. Get in there to support the iwi, and negotiate all of those relationships, and then trying to find the best outcomes for our iwi in the iwi space. I think there's a tricky distinction between like being a Māori and advocating for Māori outside of our natural groupings and our traditional groupings like iwi and hapu. So like working in the public sector or government agencies or national Māori organisations. It's tricky because there's like the issue of mandate. So you're trying to advocate for your people, but you may not have a formal mandate on behalf of your people to actually act. But you're also still trying to be in there and recognising that there's a need for Māori in these spaces. So it's just sort of like, I think it's a constant sort of discussion and sort of a bit of an internal conflict actually. Whereas Māori working in our iwi, in our hapu, who have been elected or mandated by our people, that's a whole different sort of relationship and I think dynamic, so yeah, I'm sort of in the space where I'm like, which way do I go, you know, like do I jump between, like, yeah, because there's heaps of, like, I'm just getting on the tangent now, but like there's heaps of like, I think there's like heaps of struggles Māori and like outside of the iwi and hapu, working for the iwi and hapu and for their people. There's a lot of like internal struggles, I think, especially working for the Crown and that. It's just like, yeah, you're working for the coloniser, trying to get some sort of benefit, trying to decolonise, and it's really tricky. Whereas you got tangata whenua working in their iwi, in their hapu, and just like what we say goes, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, they speak for the people.
Is there any politician that you're like, you are the man, bro?
You are the man. This is anyway. Oh man, that's hard. The chief, probably Apira Ngata, I think, yeah. So
you don't know who that is,
instrumental,
look at the $30 bill, whānau.
Yeah, have a read about Api, like he's the man, like old school Ngāti Porou hard, so instrumental in protecting whenua on the east coast and all throughout Aotearoa, revitalising wharenui and pā all across Aotearoa, helping revitalise whakairo, the art of whakairo, throughout Aotearoa as well, but a huge political figure, educational figure, like symbol of rangatiratanga and just all that. He's the man.
What kind of changes do you hope to see in the political landscape? Like, or not even, you can be dreamy with it. It doesn't have to be, you know, in motion.
Because I think what's in motion is definitely not there.
It's slow.
Yeah, it's slow. Yeah, there's not much motion, to be honest. But yeah, for me, I think like I can't take the tangata whenua pōta off. I always have to speak from that perspective, and like that's just me. But I think for tangata whenua, it's a complete shift in the power arrangements we've got at the moment, and I think that'll come from discussion and negotiation around constitutional transformation. I think for Aotearoa that's huge, to give full and adequate effect to Te Tiriti o Waitangi via constitutional arrangements, and I think that was the intention of Te Tiriti way back when, 1840. So it's like about getting our current sort of
just the bus.
That's
he tohuna. Like getting our duty bearers and the people making decisions to the point where we're having these discussions, because I think transforming our constitution, having Te Tiriti at the basis of it, implementing Matike Mai and the recommendations from that report, and having that be the foundation of our power structures and our arrangements in Aotearoa is just like one significant change that I think will trickle down into hundreds of different change and better outcomes for tangata whenua. And like there's so many more. I think just the return of whenua, like just give up the land back, like fact. But it seems so simple, but yet it seems so sort of distant, and it's just unrealistic. And I think like like just a honest and courageous effort to return that, and not just to sort of the corporate governance structures that I think Te Ao Māori have sort of been forced into, more to those on the ground hapu and whānau level, returning their whenua to them under like collective ownership arrangements and things like that, instead of this big corporate entity holding it on behalf of tangata whenua. I think that's problematic as
Where do you think the future of politics for us is heading? That's a huge question. For Aotearoa? Yep, why not?
I think it's heading in a good direction, and I say that quite lightly.
Cautiously optimistic?
Cautiously optimistic. I think as a nation, as a country, we're getting a lot more conscious and active about key issues that are sort of facing Aotearoa. And there's so many key issues, but I think we're starting to move into a space where we've got the conditions for change. I think we've got the social, economic sort of political conditions for change, but I don't know if the will's sort of like matching it.
Sure.
You know, the want and the drive from those people making decisions to actually get in there. Like I think stuff's changing, but it's just like we need to be really strong and active to actually make it change. Yeah, so I'm cautiously optimistic, I think. But I think things are definitely a lot better than they were sort of 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah, harder.
Especially for Māori.
Just going back, I know we talked about how you grew up in Whangarā, and you moved to Auckland as Māori and stayed Māori, loved that. Like,
that's a win, that's sad, eh? It's like, when you stay Māori, it's like a win. So.
Because I'm sure we can think of a few people we know. That maybe it was like, I went to a Kurukaupa, I know heaps of my mates that don't,
Oh, do you name them?
Nah, I still love you guys, come back. But what I guess when you looked at, I tried to like stalk your Instagram, but you haven't posted anything. I tried to Google and there was a photo of you on a horse. So when you walked, because when I heard about the politics, and when you walked through the way, I was legit like, oh, it's the bro. Like, it just looks like heaps of my bros. So is that, what are your thoughts on that, like the stigma around people that are in politics?
That's a buzzy one, because I think my mates give me about it too. They're like, oh, I want to see you on the billboard, bro. You got my vote, my bro. Like, they give me about it, because it's like, I don't know, it's a bit sort of unorthodox, I suppose. Someone from my background that looks like me, that sounds like me and has the lingo that I do. Speaking on these kaupapa and being so interested and passionate about it. Not trying to blow my own horn, I don't like doing that, but it's just like, I think, just rangatahi, like people that look like us and like me, like we just don't engage with it for the reasons we've talked about. And I like that there's more and more young, Māori, there's young wahine, there's all sorts of young people coming into those spaces and really holding their own and showing that, like, you can look like us, you can do things we do, you can talk like us, but you can also hold your own in these spaces and have your own whakaro that are valid and that are, important, I think. So I want to see stuff keep changing and keep moving. Like I want us to be like the norm. Why shouldn't we be? These are important issues that affect us disproportionately as well. So it's just like,
Well, I hope heaps of rangatahi who are interested in politics are no doubt they.
Tuning in.
They're like, let's go, bro. I see I'm in there next year. That's cool.
Get in there, man.
For the rangatahi who want to get involved in politics or maybe feel a bit cautious about it, what advice do you have for them?
Cautious about it? And just in there, like, go for it, man. Like,
straight up.
I think don't shy away from the issues. Get in there, have a say, have a voice, use your voice. I think as rangatahi, we have the most to lose, I think. Aotearoa, yeah. And see, I think for myself, I'm still like borderline, like I'm not even rangatahi anymore, but like, I feel like I'm borderline anyway. 23, just turned 23.
You're definitely rangatahi. I thought you were going to be around my age, but...
Nah, but like, I think, So I do find it uncomfortable sometimes talking from a rangatahi perspective. I'll just talk from my perspective.
Yeah, straight.
But like, I think, for our young people, man, like, getting involved in decisions and kaupapa and vocalising their whakaro is so important, because having a voice and saying things and being strong about what you think on kaupapa now is going to affect tomorrow in the society you're going to be living in, and then your mokopuna are going to be living in. And I think if they're cautious about it, it's completely valid to be cautious. The political landscape's an ugly place, just being straight up, like it's toxic. Like, especially in Aotearoa, man, like there's definitely awesome, positive, like amazing, empowering spaces you can be in, but there's also really mana diminishing, like ugly, racist spaces, what's previous spaces that you're going to encounter, I think. So it's about being aware of that, I think, recognising that there's a community of rangatahi that are in the space, that are vocal about the space, and that will have your back, and they will almost guide you through. I also want to like plug the bro Seth.
Oh,
Seth? Yeah.
Tuku?
Yeah, Seth Tuku.
Oh, yes.
Oh, man,
So
like,
on.
like, yeah, there's so many others. Like, you know, that Paru Politics page. There was like the Māori
keep
Half Caste
dropping.
or something page. Like, I don't want to forget into their names because I can't remember them, but they're all on Instagram and socials, and like they really created a environment, I think, that's sort of starting to normalise really political discussions discussions and kaupapa that are impacting rangatahi, and providing a bit of guidance, I think. If you want to dip your toe in the pool, I suppose, you know, just start following them, have a read, have a listen, be like, oh yeah, okay. Like, it's cool because you can engage in these narratives and these kaupapa from a sort of controlled, safe space via your phone.
Yeah.
I think just, recognise as a community, you're not just by yourself when you start diving into these kaupapa.
You heard it here first, e homa, dip that toe in the water. Get that toe in the water.
Nah, man, do a manu into it straight.
Yeah, manu into that water.
Yep.
Waimihia will be there to catch you. It's sport.
Straight up. Thank you so much for joining us in our boots today and having a kōrero. That was mean.
I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, a lot of rangatahi who want to get into politics will be inspired, especially if they see the video to this. Like, honestly, I'm just
like, who's that?
I'm going to go to those pages after this.
I mean, stoked to be on. Yeah, hope someone takes something from it, I guess.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Safe.
I've loved it. I've been Janaye Henry.
I'm Turia Schmidt-Pike.
And I'm Waimihia Manipoto-Love.
And you've been listening to Tuku Talks.
Sweet.
Oh yeah, for the camera. Sorry. I forgot.
Oh, sorry, like the feet, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.